and welcome to the Superintendent Effect, the podcast where we highlight great leaders leading great communities. I'm Ann Brown, President and CEO of the Cook Center for Human Connection, and I'm your host today. I am joined by Benjamin Kirby, who is the Superintendent of Forest Hills Public Schools in Michigan. Welcome, Benjamin.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being a guest on your podcast. Please feel free to call me Ben. That's what all my friends and colleagues call me. So looking forward to our conversation.
Great. Well, I will be your friend, Ben, so we'll do that. So tell us about Forest Hills Public Schools. And
Well,
I always like Michigan. You can tell me where it is on the.
Yeah, we'll go right in the center, more over towards the lakes. Yep. We're considered West Michigan, and it's just a beautiful place to be. We have a little bit of everything. But Forest Hills Public Schools, we have about 9,000 students. I'm in year 3 here, but we are unique in that we have 3 different attendance areas. We have a central side, a northern side, and an eastern side. So one of the things in my going to be my 3rd year here, we've really been trying to emphasize coming together as one, collaborating, supporting each other through the difficult and challenging yet rewarding work that we do in education. So very proud community, very proud school district, high achieving students, and certainly lots of accolades, very supportive parents. And we really have a school district that we're very proud of here in Kent County.
Oh, cool. I've never really heard that term, attendance areas. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so what I'm
Funding based on
referencing,
attendance?
yeah, what I'm referencing there is, again, we have 3 attendance areas. So we have our central site. So we have, these particular residents that they all funnel in. So they go to all of the elementaries on the central side, and then the middle school, the 5-6 building, and then the middle school on the central side, and then the high school. So we have 3 different high schools. So 3 ends to the educational career, or one Forest Hills large school district. However, there's 3 different high schools. So we're working to try to be more like one, but the reality is any organization is going to have their subcultures, subclimates, and that's really what I'm referring to when I talk about having the 3 attendance areas.
So it's sort of a feeder area into the high school. Like you'll go to this group of elementary schools who will go to this group of middle schools who will ultimately go to that high school.
You got it. We got Rangers, we got Huskies, and we got Hawks.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I think a lot of districts are trying to be able to have that sort of a systematic approach. So sounds like you guys already have it in place. So what did you say? You have
Rangers, Hawks, and Huskies.
and Huskies. All right.
Yes.
So I have to tell you something funny. So when I went to high school, we actually had 2 districts, but 3 high schools in our town. So one district had Idaho Falls High School and Skyline High School in Idaho. Idaho Falls were the Tigers, Skyline were the Grizzlies, and where I went to high school in Bonneville in the other district, we were the Bees, right?
Okay.
So when we were when we were doing our fight songs, it was like sting those tigers, sting those grizzlies. And I always thought, I don't think that would really hurt either of those animals if we came
Right.
and did a little bee sting on them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
So I don't know what
interesting.
your fight songs are, but
Yeah, we have fun with it. I mean, last year for the first time in a decade, we brought all of our staff together. There's a little over 1,000 staff members, but we brought them into our Fine Arts Center. We had our mascots for all 3 schools. We had representatives of bands from all 3 schools, did the fight songs, did the march across, and so again, it's just one of those trying to recognize that we're all one community of schools. But there's a lot of interplay there, but there's no dominant species over the other 2. So
well, I always felt like the others were the dominant ones. And truthfully, I couldn't even tell you who was the better player because at that point in my life, I don't even know that I went to the football games, but I don't know that I paid much attention to it.
sure.
Well, tell me about your path to the superintendency. Where have you been in your life?
Yeah, so I've had a relatively traditional yet some untraditional twist to it. Kind of your typical. I started out working in schools right away after high school. I was on the yard crew from the high school in which I graduated, or the district in which I graduated, which was Ionia, which was in the middle of Michigan. And then worked in the art crew, finished my bachelor's degree at Michigan State in elementary education, got my first job at Central Montcalm Public Schools, which is, again, more in the mid-Michigan area. Worked there for 1 year. At the same time, I was coaching some sports in Ionia because that's where I did my student teaching. So I still had a lot of connection there. I ended up moving there the following year, and I taught sixth grade for 5 years. And then the assistant principal job opened. I had a reputation of working with students that needed a little bit more attention, love, and care. And so I was asked to apply for that position. I was thinking pretty early in my career, but it's a really opportunity to make a difference. And so I went ahead, I got that position. I was the assistant principal for 5 years there. And then became the principal at the same middle school. And then the following year, the high school principalship opened up, and I never really thought I would get into, that grade band, but was asked to apply for that. So I went ahead and I applied for that. I ended up getting that high school principalship, which I was the high school principal for 3 years there. Interestingly, that was my high school. So there was a
Wow.
lot of the same staff that was there when I was a high school student. So that was a lot of fun. And it was a fantastic experience. Like I said, I was there for 3 years, and then I became the associate superintendent in the same district. I was the associate superintendent for 11 years. Really enjoyed that position. It gave me HR opportunities, school improvement, safety, all of the things that get rolled into those types of positions. I was also blessed to have my children were part of that district, so I never missed anything, and that was really important to me as a father. So at that point in time, after about 11 years, I really knew I wanted to be a superintendent, but what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to start in a small district, be there for a few years, go to another district, be there for a few years and work my way up. A lot of my work is based on relationships and those kinds of things, and that's just not how I'm wired. So I had some conversations with some other professionals. What I decided to do was to branch out and go to some larger school districts and get a deeper experience. And so I decided to do that when my daughter was a junior in high school, thinking it would take a little bit of time the following year when she's a senior and kind of work some things out. I ended up getting an offer within a month of my initial applying. I moved to South Lyon, which is in southeast Michigan, and I was the assistant superintendent of human resources and communications. So that was a very interesting combination. Loved it, really enjoyed it. Still thinking I wanted to be a superintendent when I found that right district. And an opportunity with availability. So after 2.5 years, that's about when COVID hit. So there was a superintendency in Lake Orion Community Schools, which again is in Oakland County, Southeast Michigan. So on the other side from where I'm at currently. And so I really, really, really liked the district a lot, and I was blessed to get that position. And frankly, I thought I was going to retire there. Like I said, I didn't want to jump and jump and jump. And that was a school district of about 7,000 students, and really loved it. My family was still over on the west side. I have two sons and a daughter, as well as my parents and my wife's parents. Everybody was still over on the west side. This position came open at Forest Hills Public Schools. It has a great reputation. It's a great school district. Families all over here. We had some family medical issues. Family medical issues we were dealing with. Lost my mother-in-law, so we were coming back here consistently, and it just seemed like everything was lining up. So I went ahead and applied for this position and was blessed to get it. And I'm now in year three, just starting year three. So very fortunate, in a great position, both professionally and personally, and feel very blessed to be in that position.
Wow. Well, it sounds like you're a person who has been very blessed with your career, but also really puts family first. And so
Yeah.
that's a neat combination that you can do that.
Yeah, it's something that has been really important to me. My dad left right after I was born. So I didn't really have much of a relationship with my father. And then my mother was married a few times, throughout my career. So I didn't have, or excuse me, my education career, my
Right.
K-12 career. So never really had that, that one great male role model until I got into high school and started to really gravitate towards, my coaches and some things like that. And that kind of really turned me on to education. But I've always wanted to be, it was very important to me right from the word go to be a great dad. And so that's been very important to me. And I feel like I was able to accomplish that with being in the same district with my children, not missing anything, not getting in their way, but celebrating them and really supporting them with their passions.
Well, I'd say your own children, as well as the children you serve, are really lucky to have you in those leadership positions. So,
Well, thank you.
especially with that sort of commitment to them. So, thank you for all you're doing, both for your own kids and for all of the children
Thank you.
that you've served, the thousands you've served over the years. Well, tell me some of the things that are unique and that you're really proud of in Forest Hills.
Well, there's a lot to be proud of, and one is, I mean, I have great people, and we have a lot of people doing a lot of great work. But I think we've really made some improvements. Again, I talked a little bit about relationships is really important to me, and first coming here, I spent my first 90 days. I had a whole plan. Part of my first 30 days was meeting my complete leadership team, all the union reps, community members. So you can imagine what that first 30 days was. It was just constant meetings with people and trying to really understand. But the thing that really came through, it's a fantastic district. Students are performing well on athletic fields, on assessments, but our team needed to feel valued more than what they were. And again, everything changed in our lives, in education and personal lives after COVID. Needs are just much different. Expectations are much different. So that really became a source for me in a drive. And it was really a great fit because I do feel like the relationship piece is so important. In the spring of my first year, we worked with a partner, Studer Education, and they help us really understand the employee experience, the student experience, and the parent experience. And so we do surveys and things, and one of the things that we get is a net promoter score. And our net promoter score for the first time, you're probably familiar, but for those that are not, net promoter goes to minus 100 to a positive 100. And obviously you want to be in the positive. So our net promoter, the very first time we took it in the spring of 25, was minus 2.5.
Oh,
And so that was after a year of work or, 6 months worth of work that we were doing to try to improve the culture and the experiences. And so that became our benchmark. And so from that survey, it really gave us some intentional steps and action steps on what we could do to try to improve the employee experience, because obviously we want to have happy employees, engaged employees. That affects the students and the parents. And so we put some tactics in place. And the bottom line is spring of 26, we did our surveying again, same questions, saw growth in all or 14 of the 15 questions, which was fantastic. And our net promoter score increased by 20,
wow.
almost 21. So it was 20.9. So just really proud of that. And, that's really been, some major focus for us. In the meantime, we've made some academic changes and some what we would call improvements with, opportunities for our students. So all those changes impact people, both negative and positive. But we reduced elementary elective and added a STEM elective. That affected a number of staff members. That affected programs. But through all of that, we still, yielded some positive results. So I feel really good about that. And that's some of the work that we've been doing here that I would really lift up.
Oh, that's great. So, Ben, so many people really think they know education, right? Because everybody experienced 12 or 13 years of education, and so they think that's what it looks like. But I know a lot of today's education looks really different. What are some of the experiences that people could have today that maybe if you were a parent, you wouldn't even understand those things exist?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And that one of the things that's unique about Forest Hills is we have a lot of families with both parents having a college degree.
Oh, that's
And so they're very engaged, participatory, and knowledgeable. But yes, so there are a lot of things here at Forest Hills that students are able to do. And one of the things that students really capitalize on is they take a lot of AP tests. And that is something that we've continued to increase. In fact, I think there was over 200 more tests this past year than the previous year, which we have over 1,000 tests that actually get taken. So we have a lot of AP opportunities. But the other part of it is students are really starting to become more cognizant and aware of and open to CTE opportunities. And one of the things we recognize this year is that we had in our county, which entails some of our students, we had almost 200 kids on a wait list for the health science careers.
wow.
And we have in Grand Rapids, there's like the medical mile, and we have a lot of medical providers and colleges and those kinds of things. So, one of the things that we did in the middle of the year, recognizing that, is that we added a dual enrollment with one of the courses or one of the colleges here and took our students, and we have the three high schools, brought them into our near our administration building and put together a health science class for those students so they were able to participate in that. And then that has increased to this fall, which we start school in August, a health science academy that we're going to have at our central high school where we didn't have that before. And so what we're doing with that is we are having that be accessible to the students on the eastern side, the northern side, and the central side, but it's hosted on the central side. And students are going to get CTE credit because the college professor will be coming in to do the instruction. There's experientials that are going to be part of that. Right now, it's a junior senior. We're expanding that to be a 4-year experience as we continue to evolve. So there's that opportunity. Kids are really excited about it. Staff's excited about it. And then on the other side of Northern has a lot of great experiences already. But their STEM academy that they had, they expanded that to include Western Michigan dual enrollment, where kids are actually going to go to the downtown and work in some of the manufacturing and really get an understanding of their applicable work skills and things like that. So that's also kickstarting here in the fall. They had a STEM academy that needed to be rejuvenated, and the staff there really went above and beyond that. We also have a really unique program called Gone Boarding, and that actually Bill Curtis is the one that actually originated that, and it's in high schools across the country now. But kids learn a lot of skills, but their end product is they get they go out to California and they meet some of the businesses, whether it be Billabong or others that create surfboards, skateboards. So kids actually make those, and that's kind of one of their end projects. But we also have a project next at Northern where kids are actually creating businesses, and making soap and selling it and doing different things. So there's a lot of those opportunities that our students have here at Forest Hills, and we're trying to support that by, I think I mentioned earlier, having the STEM elective in the elementary. Robotics is something our kids like, but there hasn't been that opportunity as expansive as you'd think in a district with 9,000 students. So we're really trying to foster that, because ultimately, when we did some of our survey, and our parents told us they wanted more hands-on experiences for their children. Children said the same thing. And also they wanted them to be prepared for the careers. And so we also partnered with Hanover to do a job market analysis, and both STEM and the health sciences is a high growth, high need profession in the next 10 years, not only in Michigan, but in the Grand Rapids area. So that's kind of been driving us as to what our next steps are.
And in the nation, right? If I mean, you're
Yeah.
preparing kids if they want to move beyond that, beyond Michigan.
In our school district, we have a very low poverty level and we have a very low free and reduced lunch. However, all students get free lunch in the state of Michigan now because of how it's budgeted and whatnot. But we don't get many federal funds. We get special education funds, but so we have to really take advantage of all these other opportunities to try to, continue to not only give what the minimum is, but to go above and beyond to try to figure out what some of these extra opportunities are, whether it be health and, the safety money, mental health money. There's just a variety of different, pots that we can, try to go after to support our staff. We have a really supportive community. So in Michigan, in order to do structural improvements, you've got to do bonds, and your community has to agree to pay for those bonds. And thankfully, our community has been extremely supportive. We're currently part of a $340 million bond series where we're, refreshing, adding facilities and those kinds of things.
Oh, wow. Well, I have 30 million, so 340 million is a whole big difference. We need to add a zero on that.
Yeah, well, that's the bond. So that's different from grants for sure.
Yeah. What's keeping you up at night?
Well, honestly, I sleep pretty hard. So I don't sleep very long. I just sleep hard. But one of the things that's just really I feel is my responsibility as a leader is to create multipliers and to create leaders, and that's just one of those things that has gotten harder and harder. I'm going into year 34 in education, and it's just one of those things that has just gotten harder and harder to inspire people to go into leadership. And so just really developing and finding, leaders, people that are interested.
Yeah.
The pay has gotten better as a teacher. So when a lot of times people are looking at the day to day or what their daily rate is, and the daily rate for an administrator isn't as appealing as what the daily rate might be in another position that's not a principal, for example. Really just trying to figure out, who are the people that are, desire to do this work, and then really building their capacity to help them be successful. And we started to do a little bit of that work last year, and it's just a matter of trying to make it even better so that our people stay here or go to other Michigan school districts and help them thrive as well.
Yeah, succession planning is so important for public education in general, right?
For
We've got
sure.
to keep good people in the seats. What's one of your proudest accomplishments in your time as a superintendent?
I guess, when I look back, and this isn't, directly Forest Hills, and I hope I have the same feeling when I'm done here. But I would say when I finished in Lake Orion, like I said, I started in COVID, and it was really about managing crisis the whole time I was there. We were neighbors to Oxford, which had the school shooting. We literally were neighbors. We had staff that had children in that building and vice versa. And so we dealt with that at a different level than those that were in different parts of the state. So we went through a lot of crisis. And I say all that to say when I was finished, my very last board meeting, which are typically ho-hum business and whatnot, the 7 board members said so many nice things to me that were just really emotional. Like, get emotional thinking about it, but it was just really emotional and kind of look back at the work that we do. And a lot of times you don't get that feeling while you're part of it. And so to me, I was like, I made, sorry, I made the right decision and we did the right work. So that's probably, what I'd point to.
I think what your emotion is speaking to here is the value of gratitude and appreciation,
Sure.
right? It's not about the money or the accomplishment or anything. It's about someone just patting you on the back and saying, you know what, thank you, and you did a good job.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. And I think you're right. And I think one of the things that is real for a superintendent is the higher up you go in an organization. So it's probably not just superintendents, the lonelier it gets, the more isolated your circle of trust, whatever you want to call it, just gets smaller and smaller. And people don't recognize that you're still human. You still need those affirmations. You still need to hear that what you're doing is making a difference. And that was just kind of a, pinnacle. So, but yeah, anyways, thanks for working with me through that.
And well, and Oakland is a pretty phenomenal area. I'm actually very good friends with Wanda Cook Robinson, who was your RISA superintendent at the time and
Yep.
was at Oxford, and she's told me about, that day, January 31st, I believe, and how hard that is. So hearing the appreciation, I know you weren't in Oxford, but being next to it, it's, I can't even imagine being that close. And so working through that with your families and ensuring to them that there is safety and please send your kids to school and all of those things is
Yes, yes, for sure. That's actually the first time I ever got exposure to your foundation is when we had a collective Oakland schools, Oakland
right.
County come together, and you guys were providing resources free of charge to support and so on. That's the first time I was ever exposed. So thank you for
That's
doing
right.
it.
Yeah, we were in Oakland County. Well, we should talk to you more about bringing us to Forest Hills because I'm sure there's some families that could use our help there too.
For sure.
What would you advise a brand new superintendent?
To listen. To listen and build relationships and do the relationship work first. I think that would be the simple elevator speech. And you can't emphasize it. It doesn't matter what position you're in leadership. That is just so very important. The other parts end up falling into place. Assuming the competence is there for the position and all of that. But I think that's really where I would tell them to focus.
All
Time well
right. I think that's great advice. All right, my very last question. What's the first thing you do when you get home after a busy day?
spent. First thing I do when I get home after a busy day, well, I walk in the house. I'm thinking about what I do. I walk in the house and I unpack. I always have my work bag that I have, and I drop that off, and then I start my day out at the gym. And so I basically get the laundry all taken care of, and I usually, depending on what time it is, get in the refrigerator, chat with my wife about what's for dinner, and kind of move forward. The one thing that I will say that I'm really good at, could be a pro and a con, is I compartmentalize. So when I go home, I'm kind of done with work, forget about work, and just move forward with personal life. So I don't carry that weight typically. I do, now it's just my wife and I at home and the two golden doodles. Our kids aren't there anymore. So that just feels a lot different than it used to back when the kids were there and you were trying to figure out, where you're going to cart them off to inspire their hopes and dreams. But yeah, really kind of boring, to be perfectly honest with you. Being empty nesters, oftentimes it's just a matter of just kind of taking that next step, having a meal and maybe sit down reading or watching something on TV or mowing the yard or doing something recreational like I do. So
Well, I think you just gave some extra really good advice to a new superintendent, and that is, you've got to take care of work and you've got to take care of the things you need to do there, but leave it behind so that you can take care of your home and your family and your wife and all of those other people who really support your dream to do the work that you're doing. So
yeah,
sounds
thanks.
like pretty good advice to me. Ben, the people of Forest Hill are so lucky to have you being their strong leader, building their strong community. And I just really appreciate you spending time with us today. And I just appreciate the work that you're doing for all the kids and families in your town and district. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I appreciate you having me. It's a privilege to do this work. And, as long as I'm happy and healthy, I'm going to continue to, serve in this capacity. So thank you so much.